Keeping the prank video themes going, this one has actually escalated a little bit from the last video that I did. I think the statute of limitations has run out on this, so I'm good to talk about it. If you went to the University of Central Missouri, or if you just went to college, or if you just enjoy seeing innocent people get pranked, then this video is probably for you. And as always, this is just for friends. Between myself and my friends from college, we've told this story numerous times, so I'm trying to always remember which pieces were true and which pieces were embellished, but overall, I'm positive that this is 99.9% true. In college, I lived on a street that was called College Street, and then my friends lived across town in a house on Hillcrest Street, so even though that we lived in separate houses, I was always over at their place, and then I ended up eventually moving in later. But this all happens at actually the Hillcrest house, because 3 doors down, Kryptonite, yeah, was the cross country team's house. So it was kind of like a fraternity, but most of the guys in the cross country team lived there, and they were always really nice to us. They never did anything. I'm not really sure why we picked them, except it was easy target, just 3 houses down. But other than that, it was really nothing they did. But ultimately, sometimes it doesn't pay to be nice. These pranks came in waves. So the first one, I'm not sure what year it was, but we somehow came across a styrofoam cooler and thought it'd be funny to fill it full of all of the things in our fridge that we're not using anymore. And as college kids, a lot of that stuff was expired. So thinking about overdated milk and tartar sauce and hot dogs and cream cheese and pickles and all of that type of stuff just dumped into a styrofoam cooler. I'm pretty positive that one of our friends ended up even peeing in it, because that's just something I guess typically college boys do, is pee on stuff. We wrote on a piece of paper, "free beer," and we taped it to the top of the cooler, and one of our friends, under the cover of darkness that night, put it on the cross-country house's porch and just waited to see what would happen the next day. As they're walking to class, they have to walk by that house, and they notice that the cooler's now actually been moved across the street into the faculty parking lot. So it was kind of weird, but we didn't think too much of it. And then on their way home, that cooler had now been sitting in the hot sun all day through classes, and so they're like, let's peek inside it, see what it's going on. They lift the lid, and it looks like someone has actually thrown up in the cooler. So at this point, we're getting overconfident because we know that our prank worked, and it worked well enough that someone actually got sick, which was icing on the cake. The second attempt was a few months later. I'm not sure of the time frame on it either, but it was quite a bit later. I'll save you all the gross details there, but it did involve some kind of bowel movement and a box of cosmic brownies. So you get the picture, but ultimately the same thing happened, was put on the porch, and then ended up in the faculty parking lot across the street. But that one's kind of too gross and doesn't really require too many details for you to get the picture. This third and final prank for this video is the one that has lived in infamy across our friend group for a long time. So someone hit me up on my Nokia cell phone and they asked me, hey, do you have any ideas? We're thinking about pranking the cross country house tonight. And just like any college kid, I had a ton of pizza boxes laying around, and I also had a lot of fish carcasses, because the day before, Guy and I had actually caught quite a few fish. We'd filleted them out, but we hadn't got rid of all of the carcasses yet. So an idea came to mind. We thought it'd be funny to take those pizza boxes, and instead of free beer, it's free pizza this time. We'd fill the boxes full of those gross fish carcasses, and we'd leave it on the porch. However, those fish carcasses got rank really fast, and they were even hard to just transport from our house on College Street to the Hillcrest house to do the prank. So we knew that it was going to be taking it pretty close to the line of where we could actually stomach making this prank work. That night, again under the cover of darkness, a few of our friends carted those boxes of rotten fish carcasses down to that house, put them on the porch, and then they realized that they just had too many fish carcasses. We'd done too well fishing the day before. So they threw the remaining carcasses all over the lawn and kind of just distributed them evenly the best they could. The next morning they wake up, again, they have to go to class. So they start to walk down the street, and as soon as they open their door, and again, they're 3 or 4 houses down, they immediately get that smell of rotten fish. So not only is it at the house at the corner down the street, it has now made its way all the way down the street. So the whole block is smelling like rotten fish. As they walk directly down the street past that house, they already see that there's cross-country team members out in the yard with gloves and trash bags picking up those pieces of fish. And then some of them are doing something kind of odd. They're taking hay and actually spreading it out on the lawn like it was gonna clean up some of the odor or smell or something, but we weren't really sure what that was all about. This is the part of the story that seems unbelievable, but multiple people witnessed it, so I do believe what they said. On the way back from class that day, they had already spread out that hay, and they come across that the cross-country house had actually tied a goat to the tree in their yard, and it was now out there eating up the hay. So it was like a step-by-step progression with the fish, then picking it up, putting the hay out, and now it's all the way to the tippy top of having a goat in your yard and eating the hay. We never really figured out why the goat was there, if they already planned to have the goat there, or if they called a buddy who had a goat and said, hey, get over here, we need somebody to clean up all this hay. But either way, this story was just making its own gravy. I'm pretty sure one of the cross-country members actually had a class with somebody that lived with us, and they had mentioned to them like, hey, what was that smell on the street? And they're like, oh, one of the other fraternities has been pranking us, and they actually put a lot of dead fish in our yard. So at this point, we were completely off the hook, which was even better for us in our success rate. Did we potentially start a feud between two fraternities? Yes. Did we have any reason to really prank the cross-country house? No. Was there better things we could have been doing with our time in college? Not really. Is Halo 3 the best video game of all time? Duh. Was it worth it? Yes, 1,000,000 times over, yes. This is a prank story that I'm hoping that I'm telling my grandkids when they're in high school or they're starting out pranks in college, taking it to that next level, and who knows, maybe I'll catch a bunch more fish and we can do this all again.